Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us. We love it when you all are here. So I hope you're ready for R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. It's going to be a great time indeed. And before we bring Keith in, we want to say hello to each and every one of you, including race fan in the gold medal position, in the studio with a silver, and B with a bronze medal tonight. As we continue on with our roll call here, we have next Kitty Catty Whack, Forrest Louie, Robert Lamoth, Karen in the Woo Train. Good to see you all here. Frankie B, how you doing? I hear we're going to see you in Vegas. Very cool. Carol and Mario. Road Flare is here. Road Flare will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Continuing on with our roll call. There's little Timmy James. How you doing, buddy? We'll see you for dinner tomorrow night, because that's what we do up here in the Boo. We do dinner. Yeah, we do. And who else do we have here? Sweet Donna C. How are you? Scrolling on down, up next, there's B.A. Baracus. Human Carl is here. Human Carl will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show with Keith nice and smooth. So Mel lubes us up so the aliens can just slide on in. Ethanol, how are you? Laura Lobbs, Tracy Winters, and Operation Shutdown. Good to see you all here tonight. Digger Dog, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call here. Hillbilly Herb, thank you for joining us. Paul Demon. Mama Catherine. Mwah. Mama Catherine sent me the most beautiful picture today of her wearing her brand new Friends Don't Let Friends UAP sweater that she got from our Spaced Out Radio store. It may have been a little gift from me, because I love my Mama Catherine. I do. And I know she's blushing right now. And she's like, oh, Dave, shut up. Shut up, Dave. You're making me blush, Dave. Oh, yeah. Love you, Mama Catherine. Millennium, my man, good to see you. Deanna Ann, how are you? As we continue on with our roll call, Eternity Eternal, J Truth Seeker, Necessary Dialogue. Thank you all for coming on in. Tim Mothman and his goatee, two separate entities, both here tonight. Number 42 in your program, starting in goal from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson. Cosmic Joe, nice to see you. I'm Hardcore. Welcome. He's over on X. Little Cam on YouTube, preparing for R Keith tonight. He did 25 leg presses of 1,000 pounds. 25 leg presses, 1,000 pounds tonight. Just to warm up for R Keith. X, how are you? Search and Destroy, Bombshell Bomber, Caged on the Inside. How y'all doing? Scrolling on down next, we have Flubber Lane and J Truth Seeker. I think I said your name already, but good to see you again. And who else do we have here? Well, let's just scroll on down. The Ferret. How you doing, my Canadian friend? Scrolling on down. Susan Alloway. Super Crazy. Julie Russell. How you doing? How you doing? Have you had interactions with aliens? She got aliens, by the way, that Julie Russell. Welcome to SOR Chat, by the way. Rona Davies, nice to see you again. Little Robbie G, they call him Sweet Robbie G around these parts. Algaray over on Twitch. 500 pull-ups in 18 minutes to warm up for tonight. Guy is jacked right now, just jacked. All right. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. Free Paul Demon, how are you? Search and Destroy, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Let's get the radio side going here. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. This is the mighty SOR, R Keith Andrews, and the ET Connection are hanging on out with us. Yeah. Why? Because Keith comes in the first Friday of every month to talk about all things woo, man. We are in roll call on YouTube. Hey, Algaray on Twitch. It's saying here that we're not connected, but can you give me a thumbs up if we are? Kurt W., how you doing? Bob Gray. They call him Bobbert around these parts. Do me a favor, everybody. Throw those horns up. And let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out the bubble and read the news wire. Check out our site as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon at the Space Travel as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Jive Charity. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Jive Charity today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have a fun show tonight. One of our favorites, R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, will happen here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off with another spooky story. Then, after that, Sweet Lee, extra small Lee Strauss, will be here to handle the Cryptid Report. All right, it is that time of the month where we say hello to our good friend R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. Keith joins us near the beginning of each month to come in and talk all things woo, man. All things woo. What are we talking about? Man, if you have seen a UFO, you've had ET experiences, Keith is the guy who can break it all down. Now, he's not a researcher. He's not somebody who has a giant scientific degree. He is not somebody who follows ufology at all. What he does do, though, over his last number of years, he helps counsel people who've had the ultimate strange experiences and helps them define what actually happened to them. So let's bring them on. R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, how are you? Our radio audience won't be able to see this, but your lovely fiance, Kira, is with us tonight as well. How are you, Keith?
Doing not bad at all, thanks.
Excellent. It's so good to see you, my friend. And you live in central or south central British Columbia, in Kelowna, British Columbia. Kira comes all the way from Utah to hang out with you. Man, you're a lucky guy, man.
Correct. Don't ask me, man. I mean, you are correct, but don't ask me why. I'm still working on that.
I love it. I love it. Keith, for people who may be tuning in for the first time, you are a lifelong experiencer of the weird and strange, and you've lived a different life than everybody else has who where you have literally dealt with aliens and monsters and ghosts and psychic ability for your entire life. That's not a pattern that many people have, Keith.
No, most people start, the greater portion of the ones that start, it kicks in around puberty. There's very few that actually start off in the get-go.
Keith, I'm going to get you to move a little bit closer to your microphone. You're a little bit quiet for us. But when you started really noticing, I know that you've been since infancy that you have had different abilities, but around the teenage years, is that when you really started to feel influence that this was going to be a big part of your life?
I would have to say that it was actually at age 10. Because at age 10, I was sitting on the ballpark on the bench in the ballpark. And this young 15 or 16-year-old sat down beside me. I never did know whether or not she said anything, but what I heard was, I don't understand it. I've had a boyfriend for the last 2 years. Now he won't touch me. He won't even look at me. Why not? Well, I wasn't thinking about it. I just looked at her and I went, well, because he's sleeping with your best friend. And rest assured, at 10 years old, you are not thinking what that means. So she looked at me and she goes, well, what do you mean he's sleeping with my best friend? I said, well, he's climbing into bed with her. Well, how do you know it's my best friend? I said, technically, I don't. But she looks like this, behaves like this, you met her like this. Oh my gosh, that's my best friend. I said, I'm probably overstepping, but you might want to reconsider your definition. From that moment on, I had people coming to me trying to find out what their life was going to do, whether dad was coming home from the war, whether they were moving, whatever the story was. And it all sounds really hokey until you realize that at my 30th grad reunion, the first person I ran into took one look at me and goes, weren't you one of the teachers, one of the counselors? I said, no, I was actually a student. I just did more work than both counselors combined. And it's been that way my entire life.
How much do you enjoy doing what you do?
I have a problem with the word enjoy because I don't know any different. I do like when I help somebody get their feet on the ground, I do enjoy that. About the only thing I know for certain that I absolutely enjoy where it comes to the outside world is confusing the heck out of the doctors. But as far as enjoying this or enjoying the interaction, I find the planet extremely frustrating because of what I see coming and what I've seen happen. But I think the biggest thing that I don't know if I want to say I enjoy it, but when I listen to some of the reports from some of the big names, and I'm going, well, if you know this, if you're this well connected, how can you still, after all these years, still be talking about alien invasion? And when they finally figure out, when they come to the conclusion they're going down a path that doesn't work, that part of it is rather reassuring.
Keith, there's a lot of people, and I know you don't follow the UFO world because you got your own things going on, but a lot of people in the UFO world have been talking recently about 2025, 2026, 2027 being the year of disclosure where it could be the aliens actually present themselves. Now, I know that you are somebody who talks to ETs. As weird as that may sound to some, it's not weird to me. But you talk with your guides, you talk to your spirits and everything. Do you see this actually happening?
I've been hearing this for the last 55, 60 years, that it's going to be this year they come out and say something. There is nothing that I've heard of in the works, primarily because by their rendition, if they were to show themselves en masse the way people keep talking about, society would almost overnight collapse. simply because of the chaos the revelation would bring. And I know there's all these bigwigs that say that isn't the way it'll work. You're wrong. In all fairness, I hope I am. I just wouldn't hold my breath on it. You got to remember, society has been built on the idea that man was the first ones here and that we're better than everybody else. Okay. But there is no revelation. As far as I've been shown, there is nothing happening that's going to be a match. Let's all of a sudden show the world undeniable proof. I mean, think about it. 10, 15 years ago, approximately 62% of the people in the States believed the aliens were already here. Well, if that's the case, now we're talking 15 years ago, it's been getting more and more since. And when you look at that, they've already done their big disclosure. You're already aware of it. Why make a fanfare out of it?
Good question. But we do.
Oh, absolutely you do. And I don't mean you personally.
Do you think that the ETs want any sort of disclosure, or are we trying to force it?
I know, honestly, I don't feel it's something that really serves them in their best interest. From a xeno-socioeconomic outlook, them coming forward and saying, here we are, it would totally disrupt the natural evolution of mankind's civilization. And that would completely disrupt all of their research. Or much of it, anyway.
Do you think, then, that we are in a dangerous precedent in playing this game?
Not any more so than any other budding spacefaring race. We're literally going down the same road that all of these other races have gone through, or almost all of them. You know, I mean, you take a look at the Sarkon when they first got involved with the consortium. The Sarkon had expanded their empire way beyond their capacity to handle it and ended up leaving behind three chunks of civilization that evolved into three new races.
A lot of people will say, where are they coming from? A lot of people believe they're coming from outer space. A lot of people will believe they could be interdimensional type time travelers. Maybe they're inner Earth. Maybe they've always been here. Where do you stand on that?
Well, we'll start with this. Interdimensional, no. That may be a termination problem, like a terminology problem. But everything you can pick up in this existence is third dimensional. Some of it vibrates at a much higher rate and will appear to wink out of existence. But they come from outer space, they come from inner Earth or hollow Earth, if you will. They come from different universes, still outer space, by the way. And some have been here since Earth was being built. Okay, so I mean, they come from a wide array, if you will. As far as coming through time, they could be coming from the past moving forward. Bear in mind, when you're talking about some of these races, they are so far advanced ahead of Earth. It is theoretically possible that individuals could come forward in time to the present, to our present, but none of them come back because nobody can go back in time. And I know what the scientific argument is there, but you know, frankly, that's not a real concern to me. You know.
What is the concern then? Is it a human construct? Is there anything to be concerned about? Look, I'm not saying all species are good, but I don't think they're all bad either.
No, they've gone as wide a mix, species to species. They've gone as wide a mix as humans do. Some are good, some are bad, some are who gives a flying, and you get to finish that sentence. Okay. But they really are a mixed bag. You'll find some of the nastiest people, or some of the nastiest races overall, have some of the most genuinely kind and gentle individuals, humanitarians, if you will, working with them. You know, even when you look at the Zeta Reticulans, okay, some of them the majority of them are pure scientists. Then you've got some there, straight humanitarians, and you've got the other batch that are in it for nothing but the money. In other words, I'll grab the research that we've done, I'll sell it to you for the right price. You know, but that the other thing you got to remember is that when we're looking at these species, it's not a question of coming in. One of the biggest and I call it a joke. One of the biggest jokes that I hear is when people try and tell me this is a quarantine planet and we're getting abducted all over the place. Now, if this is a quarantine planet, this is a jail. How come we've got so many abductions going on? It's like flat earthers talking about there being chapters all around the globe. There's just something that doesn't work.
Is there a possibility in our lifetimes of having ETs walking among us?
Well, that, and I don't tell you this very often. You can pop on that one. But is there a possibility? That's 100% yes. They're already here. And they're already walking amongst us. It's just they're not showing themselves. Like they're not going, hey, I'm an off-worlder. Because humans have this brilliant idea, and I'm talking humans in general, I'm not talking specifics. But humans in general have this brilliant idea. Oh, that's weird. Let's shoot it and find out if it's nice. I'm thinking somebody got the message backwards.
But do you think, though, that we could cohabitate? Or are we too selfish?
Absolutely. Oh, humans are. The funny thing is humans on the whole are not actually selfish. And I will quite happily stand by that. Take a whole pile of human children, ages 3 to 5. Put them all in a room. They will play with each other. They will share with each other. On the whole, you'll have the occasional one that's a little off kilter. They don't care about color. They don't care about gender. They don't care about who you're related to. They want to get along. Okay, it's humans. It's adults that are teaching the problem. So the answer to your question is: could humans and off-worlders get along? The answer is yes.
Well, I guess we're going to soon see, right?
I already have.
Keith, what's your idea? There's been a lot of debate in the UFO community about summoning UFOs.
Well,
I mean, I know it's possible. I've done it myself, but there's a lot of people debating whether or not it is possible to summon in UFOs, and they are now calling it this term psionics rather than close encounters of the fifth kind or CE5. Just your thoughts on all of that.
Well, they can call it an ice cream cone if they want. The term psionics has been around for centuries, as far as I've understood anyway. But is it possible to summon them? Certainly. The question I have, though, is there any logic to it? Because when you're starting to try and summon them, you're flipping a coin as to what you're getting. And there are certain races you just don't want to sit down to dinner with. You take a look at, if you take a look you take a look at the Vegans. you don't want to necessarily sit down to dinner with them. These guys have no pain threshold. They have no idea how much damage they can do to somebody. Okay. So, especially with some of the races, you call them down and invite them for dinner, they're all in. Of course, your dinner, but they're all happy about it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a weird scenario.
Oh, it is.
It really is a weird scenario. I mean, I have summoned, and I have no problem saying that. I haven't done it in a long time. Could I do it again? Yeah, if I had a clear consciousness and and meditated on it, I think I could. And it's something that I don't think is as difficult as we follow in this world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, it's a very complicated, it's a very delicate subject. I noticed a comment go through your chat room that usually I ignore them. But there was one, and I missed who the name was offhand. Somebody just flat out told me I'm anti. There we are. Sierra goes, okay, Mr. Andrews is anti-psionic. I get a kick out of people like that. I've been called a lot of things, and some of them repeatable in polite company. But the situation we're living in right now is too many people are jumping to the conclusion that they're going one side or the other. Either the aliens are all good or they're all bad, and there's no species in existence that I've ever run into that is all one way or the other.
Oh, I hear you there, and I agree with you. I mean, there is this group of people out there, and I'm not saying they're wrong because that is their experience, who believe that anything coming from or anything potentially extraterrestrial is of a negative connotation.
Oh, I agree, and I'm not going to tell them that their experience is wrong, and I certainly am not about to tell them their opinion is wrong. They may have facts that are either misunderstood or that they haven't had the whole picture, but with what they've got to work with, if their experience has been primarily bad, then that's the way it is. I will quite happily tell you that Taylor and I do not get along at the best of times. And some people get along fabulously with them. But I personally wouldn't trust them as far as I can throw them.
No, I mean, you do have to be careful on who
Absolutely.
What is the dangers of summoning as we got about 90 seconds to go?
Of summoning an alien?
Yeah.
The biggest danger is summoning one that is actually hostile. Either hostile or completely ignorant of human fragility. Okay, that's your biggest danger. But is it a global threat? Not at all.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing that might be a pretty big disappointment is that when you're summoning them, you may have your mindset on this is the kind of experience I'm expecting and have it come out something totally different, which can be very confusing to say the least.
I hear you there, my friend. I hear you there. And the confusion part about it all that people would have is a lot of people will say, Keith, I don't care what I summon, good, bad. I just want an experience. I want to be able to say that I've experienced this. That's kind of a be careful what you wish for kind of thing.
That really is. I'm thinking, if you're wishing for that, I had somebody tell me they were going to follow a they were going to follow an Alarian into their lair, uninvited. Now you got to remember, Alarians are hunters. You get into their lair, guess what's going to happen if you go into a bear's den in the middle of the winter?
I hear you there. I don't want to take that chance. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. He's one of our more popular shows each and every month. We're glad to have him here again in 2025. Audience questions from our chat rooms next on Spaced Out Radio. There we go. Good old R. Keith right here. And the lovely and talented Kira right beside. Little Timmy James, I know you're watching. Just figured I'd give you a wave.
I don't know if it's going to come up, but just so you got the heads up, Christine's asking if you had any ET or similar type experiences.
Okay, just in case it comes up.
Yeah, it may come up.
Okay. If it does, cool. If not,
You've heard me talk to Christine.
Yeah.
Same person.
Yeah.
It's always fun when you're on, Keith.
It can get interesting. To Mothman says hi.
Oh. Hi.
And his goatee says hi as well.
Okay.
Kira Algaray over on Twitch wants to know what you think of Spaced Out Radio.
What I think of Spaced Out Radio. Actually, I think it's really well put together, and I certainly wouldn't be able to run anything like that. I used to have inspirations sometime back about doing similar things, not about the same subject, but I give kudos to you, Dave, and everybody else who's involved with the show that keep it as well organized and together as it is. So I think it's great.
Appreciate you, my dear. Now, your T-shirt will be coming in the mail now for that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We got about 2.5 minutes here, guys.
Cool.
Oh, Sierra is asking if you're the same Kira that he chats on as a mod.
Oh, no. I'm the other Kira. I figured that would come up eventually.
Yeah. Well, let's face it. Goodbye. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I'm just trying to track what's going on. It's moved. I don't know how Dave tracks this.
Oh, I know.
Oh, Dave doesn't. Dave just acts like he does.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm only looking at one, and I think you got 3 or 4 of these things up and running, don't you?
No, I get to see it all in one form. Sierra, different Kira. There's Kira, Spaced Out Radio's Kira, then there's R Keith Andrews Kira. And put your questions in capital letters, people. You know what to do on an R Keith night. This show is all about you. It's not about me interviewing him. It's all about you guys.
So I guess he takes the questions.
All right, we got about 30 seconds, Keith.
Yeah. Okay.
Next.
Yeah, he keeps an eye on and makes a note of them.
Makes a note and then answers them next.
Yeah. Yeah, this is why I don't answer much in here.
Yeah.
There we go. And 15 seconds. Thank you to both Major Lee and Search and Destroy for our super chats. We greatly appreciate the love and support. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Here we go, everybody. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in across North America. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. We're going to get into some audience questions here momentarily. But first, Keith, I want to ask you about channeling aliens. A lot of people claim they could channel these extraterrestrial species. What's your thoughts on this? Is it good? Is it bad? Should we try it?
Number one, I wouldn't call it good or bad. But is it possible? Yes. I've had complete overlays done. But it's just the same caution as the other side of it. Be careful. Make sure you look into what you're doing. Because if you make a mistake and they get a grip, if they're strong enough to channel through you, they are also potentially strong enough to take over. And like I said, not all aliens are good and not all of them are bad. But most of the time, the people that are... Go ahead.
Well, for people who may not understand channeling, maybe break that down for them.
Well, channeling, what most channelers claim is the person overrides their speech center and talks straight through them. This is seldom the case. Most of the time, what happens is you end up with a mental link with them, and the human channel, if you will, does their best to interpret the images that are coming in. It's very rarely a direct transfer. So most people that say I'm channeling, like I hear people telling me they're channeling God directly. Okay. And I've got a lot of problems with that particular issue, but channeling does work. But you got to be careful. And I do caution you, take it slow to start with. Keep it at short runs when you first get going. It's just like exercising any other muscle. You've got to build yourself up to it.
Very true. How does one do it?
Make sense?
Sorry?
Oh, I didn't actually say anything. I just something I have to do periodically.
Okay, you kind of came out there.
Ultimately, what you have to do is get into a very relaxed position.
Yeah, you're kind of freezing up there a little bit, Keith, but that's okay. Channeling. In order to do it, let's try this again. In order to channel, how does one do it?
Scheiße. See if I can do something here. I'm just
All right.
opening the door back here to see if that helps.
Not sure what we're just having some technical issues with Keith here. We're trying to get these figured out here in order to try and get his Wi-Fi working a little bit better than what it is right now. But we are talking with R Keith Andrews tonight in the ET Connection. Keith, channeling. I'm not sure if you can hear me now, but channeling.
The part is, I shouldn't be dealing with Wi-Fi. I'm hardwired.
Oh, weird. Very weird.
Good Lord.
All right.
Oh,
We're just
again,
gonna.
You asked me. I think I know what the problem is.
All right. What's the problem? Hold on, we got you on mute here.
Quite literally.
There you go.
Yeah, I moved closer to the computer and our reception went out the window.
Oh, okay. There we go. Let's try that then. Because you are a bastion for technology. That is very sure. Very sure. All right. We're going to ask one final time before we move on. How does one channel?
Well, the first thing you have to do is get into a very relaxed, open state. In other words, find a comfortable way to sit down, a comfortable place to sit while you're wide awake. Relax your mind and literally thank the people out there for connecting with you in a way you can both accept and comprehend. By doing that, you'll open a link up, and if anybody's willing and is listening and willing, you may just get the information. Now, I would strongly recommend either having a sheet of paper and a pen handy or a recording device so that you can record whatever is coming in. But whatever you do, don't question what you're picking up. Just write it down and try and sort it out.
When I channeled way back a few years ago, a number of years ago, it's kind of what started me in all of this. I was so weirded out by what was going on that I kept trying to answer for whatever it was I was channeling rather than allowing the spirit to talk through me. That was one of the big things that really messed me up with it.
Yeah, because channeling is a one-way communication. It's not technically two-way. We're not talking telepathy per se. Or more to the point, we're not talking telepathic communication. A channel is literally somebody up here funneling information directly into your brain. And then humans, because their brain works slower, don't take this as an insult, you write it down so you can piece it together afterwards. You know, kind of like taking crib notes.
Very true. Very true. That's pretty exciting, man. It's something that I don't really recommend people to channel if they don't know what they're doing, because it's like a Ouija board, in my opinion. You know, you have to be very careful with what you're doing and make sure you're in a controlled environment and know how to shut it down.
Yes. Very definitely.
All right. You ready for some audience questions?
Absolutely.
Start off with super crazy here. Do alien planets have government systems? And do they tell their people about our existence here on Earth? What do they say about us?
Well, we've got one major mixed bag there. Number one, every one of the species I've dealt with has a government system of one form or another many of which can be likened to what humans have. And depending on the species, they may or may not tell people about us. Some people believe humans are a myth. Some people believe that Earth itself is just a fairy tale. And they have the same kinds of conflicts between those of them that believe that humans are real and those of them that believe they aren't. And of course, we got to remember that some humans, according to some of the races, can look at a starship and just by looking at it and concentrating on it, can totally destroy the ship. Therefore, they are a dangerous species to deal with. We have fairy tales about strange creatures, right, and strange entities. So do the off-worlders. It's just the humans are the strange and weird people. And in some cases, I agree with them.
Love it.
But, let's face it, overall, we're talking several, literally saying we're talking thousands of species.
Very true. Very true. All right, Keith, let's move over to Frankie. How do you feel about Dr. Stephen Greer and his idea of disclosure?
I got nothing personal against him. I have no idea what his idea of disclosure is.
Well, basically, he feels that the government is holding all the secrets, and the aliens want to come down and disclose, and we're not letting them.
Yeah, humans do not have that much control. They don't have that much influence at all. I have no doubt that governments are holding some of the secrets, but they haven't even got the tip of the iceberg. Well, maybe the very tip. As in a mica flake on top of the iceberg. But no, this is not a question of humans are stopping anything. Aside from stopping humans from moving forward. But that's on humans. That's not on the off-worlders.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let's go over to Super Crazy again. Are there any alien wars currently being fought? And is there a possibility that Earthlings will be participating in some intergalactic war one day?
Well, due to the fact, number one, the short answer is the Talons and pull that blank. There are between, and I'm just drawing a blank on it. There's a spider race. Oh, the Taurians and the Talons are at war. The Srozosians and the Teklek are at war. Okay, so are there wars going on? Certainly. They just have bigger guns. Is it possible that someday humans will be brought into an intergalactic war? Certainly it's possible, but it would be nice if we could figure that out before it happens. War has never in any society done anything really positive.
Let's continue on. Let's go next over to Hillbilly Herb, who is asking, recently, while falling asleep, it felt like an ET hacked into my hypnagogic vision. An elderly gray human hybrid woman got into my face and said, "I am interrupting you." Was shocked. I woke up like WTF.
You remember that thing about channeling? This is what's called an accidental channel when you're relaxed. Ultimately, he happened to fall asleep when somebody was on the ball and went, "Hey, there's a door that's slightly open. Can I come in?"
Mm-hmm.
But whatever you do, don't worry about being in any kind of danger from them. Somebody like that is generally gregarious and quite peaceful. Just curious like you are. At least I'm hoping you are.
Are human hybrids usually doing things like that?
Human hybrids are as varied as humans, with the added bonus that we've got so many different hybridized humans that you end up with a whole lot more variations available. Humans are one of the most curious races available, and they do have a bad habit, and pardon my putting it this way, but coming across a new piece of technology or a new idea and go, what's this button do? Quite often they're so concerned, humans and hybrids alike are so intent on, can we do this? They seldom think whether it's a good idea. And yeah, humans are known to do that way more often than other races.
All right, let's move over to Donna. Keith, do you know of a golden Pleiadian planet with golden beings? If so, what is your experience with it? I was told by a channeler I was a teacher there to child ETs. I taught shape-shifting.
Well, I'm not going to argue with what you were told. I will tell you the only real solid golden beings I know of aren't actually from off-world. Okay, they're actually currently from inner Earth. And that would be the original elephant. But they're not a Pleiad. They have gone. There are some of them that end up over in the Pleiadian sector. But they aren't technically from a Pleiadian planet.
Where are these golden beings out there or on the inner Earth from? Like, are they from a certain part of inner Earth? Or are they, like, can you drill a hole down to them?
I don't think anybody's going to get to inner Earth anytime soon, but they were the original surface dwellers of Earth. And when things got real complicated, and they ended up moving underground. But we are talking about species that literally the last few remaining of them are literally billions of years old. These are people that you really like. Fortunately, they're more interested in peace and in peace and understanding than they are in anything else. But they tend to isolate themselves from anything that's even remotely aggressive if they can avoid it.
We've got about 6 minutes here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues right after this question. Super Crazy's asking, are all reptilians jerks?
No. I met some that are absolute gems to work with, and some that you really got to question their IQ. But like I said, you cannot effectively lump any species into one mindset. We got to remember that I can think of that I've got record of. Right off the top of my head, I've got like a dozen different reptilian species. We're not talking about just one. You're talking about multiple species. And no, all reptilians are not jerks. Some absolutely are. Some are absolutely full of themselves. I got asked one day by one literally, he goes, why should I listen to a simple Solarian in matters of war? Bear in mind, off-worlders refer to humans and to the people of Earth as Solarians. Now, since humans are not the only race that lives on Earth, I'm talking about anything living on Earth is a Solarian. And some reptilians look at them going, they're fragile, they're easy to break, they're easy to repair, they replicate faster than you can imagine. Well, almost. But some reptilians look at them and go, they're absolute creeps. And others look at humans going, can I have one of those for a pet?
All right. Let's go to Christine. R Keith, has Kira, your fiance, had any ET or similar type of experiences?
I can answer that one on my own behalf. So ET experiences. I don't think I have had any experiences in what I guess you guys would consider the conventional sense. I haven't really been abducted, but I have a lot of connection with like what I call the metaphysical, like the spiritual realm. I've had a lot of interesting paranormal experiences that I'd rather not experience again. I tend to be a very vulnerable individual when I sleep. Um, Both very good and very bad things have happened to me on the metaphysical level while I've been sleeping, but I haven't actually been abducted or anything like that. So, no, unfortunately not. Or maybe fortunately, I don't know. But there you go.
Well, we appreciate that answer. Thank you, Kira. Let's go to Caged on the Inside, asking, what is it that R. Keith does in helping abductees?
Well, from what I gather, the best I can put it is people contact me because they've had an experience and they can't make heads or tails of it. But what I do is help them understand what they're going through can impact them. And more importantly, in a lot of cases, to help them realize that they are not the only one that's gone through it. And here's tools that other people have utilized in order to get their life back in track. Many times abductees simply require somebody to listen to them without going, you're completely off your nut, you're just making this up. Because most recent abductees, their biggest concern is whether they're actually losing their mind. I don't know that I'm the right person to tell you whether you're losing your mind, but the way it was put to me was, if you're questioning, am I losing my mind? The answer is no, you're not. Because if you were, you wouldn't be asking the question. But ultimately, that's what I ended up doing. And of course, by filling in the information on what some of these species are like, it helps them understand it helps the abductee understand what they've gone through.
All right, let's move on. I think we got time for one more. We got about 2 minutes left, Keith.
Sure.
Sierra is asking, are there ETs that resemble humans who may be our neighbors, classmates, etc.? Do they even know they're your ET?
Well, the Mobians could literally sit down in the room, in the chair beside you, and a modern doctor could run a scan over them. You'd never know that they came from Mobius, because they were human before they colonized Mobius on the other side of the sun. There are a few others that could fit in very nicely, not the least of which are the shorter Nords. A young Nord looks almost identical to human. So yeah, there could well be people in your neighborhood, in your classroom, and before anybody asks, no, I'm not pointing any out, so let's not go there.
All right, let's move on. Can we sneak one more in?
Probably.
Let's go to Julie. Have you ever met live alien beings in this dimension?
Only 120 documented species so far, maybe a few more.
What's your favorite?
The short answer would be yes. The reality is, for me, they are just other people. But and they've got different tendencies and what have you. I get the pleasure of meeting them on their ship as well as having met them down here, which is really disconcerting, or really, shall we say, surprising on their part. But yeah, I've definitely run into them.
Keith, on that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues on Spaced Out Radio. And coming up in hour number 2, we're going to continue with audience questions for the next hour with R Keith. It may be weird, it may be strange to some, but this is Keith's reality in helping people figure out their own ET contact. We'll be right back. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Keith, we are clear. I'm just going to take you guys out of studio for right now. We got about 5.5 minutes, okay?
Okay, doke.
Be right back. Be right back, everybody. All right. I am back. Hello, Jessica S. Lovely Lavira, how are you? Bring Keith in. And Kira. Remember to put your questions in capital letters. It's easier for me to read them to Keith. Let's get those questions flowing, people.
Can't believe that.
You're welcome.
That's just really. What am I supposed to do with that? Oh yeah.
I just open it up.
Yeah, but.
All right. Big thank you tonight to Maddie, Frankie, Lee, and Search and Destroy for the super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate the love and support. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. We appreciate it. Here we go. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate burning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ecdesiast. Ecdesiast is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with our good friend R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection happening right now. We're taking audience questions on all things weird and strange that revolve around potential ET contact here on this planet. Yes. Keith, welcome back.
And thank you for having us. Thanks for everybody that's still with us. Tell you, the questions are fabulous tonight, Dave.
Oh, they always add up, Keith. They always add up. And I'm always excited when you're here as well, my friend. Let's get right to it. Let's go to Super Crazy. How can we prepare our non-believing loved ones for UFO disclosure? Do you think disclosure will cause a mass mental health crisis all over the world?
Well, number one, those that believe don't require assistance, and those that don't believe, you're likely not going to be able to help them with it. When it happens, that's when you step in and help them realize they haven't completely lost their mind. But preparing them ahead of time, it's not likely you're going to have a lot of success. Don't give up on them, though. They are trying with what they've got. Now, as far as disclosure causing a mass mental health crisis all over the world, well, there'll be pockets where it won't make any difference. But yeah, you have the way people are talking about all of a sudden these ships showing up over the cities and going, hey, we're here. Society would likely break down overnight. Okay, so not a really good idea for anybody.
Definitely.
Because we got to remember, our entire society has been built on the premise that we are the top of the totem pole.
Let's go to another question here, Keith. Let's go to Kurt. Keith, do you think the end goal is where we are going to all come together and join as one? Or are we going to blow ourselves to crap? Is there any hope, or is it only despair or false hope?
No, I'm a firm believer that there is hope that we can bring it together. And this is exactly why I keep doing this. Because I am a very firm believer that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. it does require we quit seeing each other, even human to human, as being better than the next one. That's the real kicker to it. And that's the first thing humans have to get through their head, is where you grow up or how much money you've got or how big your toys are doesn't determine whether you're a better individual. By the way, most of the ancient races and the off-worlders have gone through the same conflicts, the same society-changing events. The trick is to start surrounding yourself to quit. No, correction. The real trick is for every time you read or hear or see something negative, find 2 things that are positive. That will help tilt the balance back into a positive nature. Okay, and I could go on for hours about how you do that. But no, there is definitely hope for this race still.
All right, let's go on here. Let's go to the Andromedan. Keith, are there races who use black triangle craft ships?
Yeah, the consortium itself. The Galactic Consortium, that is their primary ship of varying different sizes. You've got 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. They've even got 13 and 15 light ships. Okay, when you're looking at the front lip of them, what you got to remember is the reason they're odd numbered is because they got one on the point, and then they fill them out. But it depends on the size as to what they're there for.
Well, I don't know the answer to that, Keith. That's why we have you here. Let's go to Operation Shutdown. Would you recommend beginners to stay away from channeling?
Well, more to the point, I'd recommend they take it slowly. Just like any other skill, any other muscle, get a handle on the basics first. And that really boils down with starting to quiet your own mind and accept the things around you before you start reaching out to try and grasp what an alien race is going to look like or is going to behave like. Because they don't even have the same cultural background, which is going to inevitably cause confusion if you're not careful.
Kurt is asking, Keith, does the quartz on the pyramids hold electricity? How do you think that has significance, or who do you think has the blueprints?
Well, the blueprints belong to the Ennead. The original people that were here that humans considered the Egyptian gods. Now, as far as the quartz on the pyramid goes, it doesn't exactly hold electricity in a sense, it literally funnels bioelectricity that it draws from all living things around it. Bear in mind, Earth itself is a living entity. Specifically, it's a Gaboran. But the quartz in the pyramids channel that energy. And if you look at the hieroglyphs, they are a circuit board.
All right, let's continue on. Let's go over to Sierra. On other planets, is it also mainly the men who are aggressive and into fighting?
No. Some of the most volatile races, the females will rip a male apart and beat his friends to death with the loose ends, and they won't even blink. Men on Earth like to think that they are the dominant race, and they are stronger in a lot of cases, stronger and faster. But women are, by and large, especially with some of the races, way more aggressive than males.
All right, let's continue on. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. Audience questions. Al Gray over on Twitch is asking, Keith, have you ever had interaction with inner Earth beings?
Some of my best friends are inner Earth. Okay, so the short answer would be yes. I can think of probably 12.5 races right off the bat that are now from inner Earth. Many of what you call mythological or fairy tale beings actually live inside our Earth. And yeah, they went there voluntarily.
Really? Voluntarily? I don't know if I'd do that. Rona is asking, Keith, have you experienced or know of ETs healing people?
Absolutely. The Pleiadians are a prime example. But there are many races that can do it. The Pleiadians just happen to be the most neutral about it.
When they heal you, do they do it permanently, or can something that is recurring still happen?
Well, number one, they do it as solidly as they can, but because Earth is such a toxic planet, recurring things can occur. It can come back. Okay, and especially if the damage that was healed, if the actions that led to that damage in the first place are not corrected, it's likely to come back with a vengeance. For instance, let's say you've got somebody that, in simple terms, is an alcoholic. And a Pleiadian goes, okay, we're going to eliminate that. We're going to eliminate the damage. But the guy goes back to drinking, or the girl for that matter. Odds are the kidney and the liver is going to collapse in one heck of a hurry.
All right, let's move on to another one. Let's go to Deanna. My earliest memory is when I was an infant in my bassinet. Beings that looked like cartoon people stood around me. I heard them saying, she could see us. Were these aliens? This memory is very vivid.
You know, the best way I can put that, Deanna, is it's a really good bet. Okay, there are a lot, especially as an infant, a lot of things are going to be distorted. So whether they were off-worlders or ancient race, there's no way I can tell you with that information. I can tell you it's a very good bet that they were.
All right, Blue Cruz is asking, do the aliens or ETs use multi-story mechanical suits to traverse the landscape of planets?
Well, that depends entirely on the race. Okay, and what I mean by that is some of them use massive amplification suits. Okay, and of course it also depends on what planet they're on. You know, there are certain planets you just don't take a ship onto because it ain't going to survive. But if you look into gaming terms, there was a game called Mech Wars. Okay, now most of you won't know what it is, but picture a giant robot like the Transformers, operated by several people at the same time, in much the same way that a tank or a battleship is handled by humans. So yeah, they certainly have these weapons.
Blue Cruz again. Oh, same question he accidentally asked twice. Let's go to Super Crazy. Do any aliens have super weapons that could destroy an entire planet, like in Star Wars?
Oh yeah, absolutely they do. They literally have one that is designed to boil the life's blood out of a planet. Okay, but this is one of those neat little war weapons. The consortium main battleship has a main gun where if you were to take the HMS Titanic, the one that we've got here on Earth, turn it broadside, you could slip it inside the barrel of the gun and still have room to maneuver. So yeah, these kind of weapons, this is why when people tell me, oh, we'll just chase the aliens away. Not going to happen. Yeah, it's just not.
All right, let's continue on with audience questions here. This is so much fun tonight. Let's go to Sierra. Why do ETs apparently cause radiation poisoning when encountering people?
Hyperactive vibratory rate and a subquantum cellular modification that doesn't sit well with humans. That was the actual answer. Basically, they are carrying with them a different energy field that humans cannot adjust to yet. It's not technically radiation.
Okay. So my follow-up question to this is then, Keith, when people are on craft, do they collect the radiation, or is it only if they come in contact with the craft on the outside?
Depends on the craft. Okay, sometimes a scanning, like I know of a couple of cases where it was literally a scanning ray, where the off-worlder was just simply trying to get a reading off of Earth, and ended up tagging a human that got too close. Human curiosity has been known to be borderline fatal, but in a case like that, they will come down and do their best to put the person back together. Their intention is not to actually cause a problem.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. Appreciate that. Let's go to the Andromedan. Keith, what do all the races call this planet?
This would be called Sol 4. And we will use the term all of them a little loosely, because Sol 4 is the designation for the Galactic Consortium. But there are races that know of Earth that are not members of said consortium, and they may well have a different term for it. Hopefully that makes sense. But Earth is classified as Sol 4. Sol being the name of the star, 4 being the number of the planet in the planetary orbit from the sun.
Let's head on over to Caged on the Inside, who is asking, is there any technique, Keith, that you use for memory for abductees?
That is a slow process, really. But it boils down to while I'm talking to them, helping the individual focus on what they're remembering without giving any indication. Like I never go, well, what color is the alien's hair? Okay, you never ask a question that indicates that they have hair or any specific skin coloring or any specific configuration. You get the person to explain what they're looking at. Okay, and as they do that, it's a bit of a technique. Quite frankly, most of the hypnotherapists I've talked to have a bad habit of accidentally implanting images themselves. Okay, so it really is. It's a question. Can I give you a definitive? Here's how I would do it on each individual. There is no one path I use, because it depends entirely on what the person is going through.
Let's head on over to Warden Dragon. So we got about 5 minutes until the break here, Keith.
Okay.
With the tall whites Nordics, I've got some meat from them. What are they like? And maybe what's their role on Earth? I do have friends there, so I will be okay. I just don't get along with them.
Yeah, the Nordics, first of all, that's the Gaddafi. Way back during the Greek and Roman era. Okay, the Gaddafi showed up, and literally mankind looked at them and went, oh, you guys are gods, and they went, bonus. So from their standpoint, they absolutely see themselves as better than humans. But the consortium came in and told them, guys, you're not gods. get off the planet. Okay, but if you run into the Gaddafi, the odds are they're looking down on you, as in you're worth less than they are. Okay, but on the whole, they're a very gregarious group of people. They've got as varied personalities as humans do. Just have to realize they are very much. They're a lot further into what you might consider the, shall we say, the party scene than humans are. And yeah, I know humans seem to like to party, but they got nothing on the Gaddafi.
I don't know, Keith. I've seen you in Reno. You are a party animal.
Yeah, sure. We'll take your word for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, continuing here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to LinkedIn, where Art is listening in. Hi, Art. And he is asking, what is the larger message being sent by ETs? Or are there several different messages being sent at the same time to different people?
Well, the answer would be both. But the larger message being sent across the board is get along. You're all members of the same species on the same planet. You guys getting together and put an actual conglomerated one world government together, not a dictatorship. Then we start to open the door for you to become a member of a much greater community. Okay, as in a star-spanning community. But you guys have to get along and quit poisoning your own planet. You don't have as much of a shortage as what you guys are being led to believe. But it's going to boil down to the people, not the leaders, pulling it together. You know, the message really is, you, the individual, if you will, the commoners, you're the people that have control over this planet. You just have to exercise it. And that does not mean a war. Avoid one of the biggest things, and they've got their wars, is put your guns down and quit trying to kill each other. You'll make far better headway.
Is that even possible?
Yes. They said that the Scottish clans could never unite. Heck, they said the United States could never become a country. They said the same thing about Canada. And we do have the UN. So these things that were said to be never possible are being done time and again. Heck, even flight, we were told, was impossible. I'm pretty certain most of the people on Earth accept the fact that flight is possible now.
Let's move on. Let's go over to Mike Jones. So we're in our final minute here, Keith, so we might have to make it quick. About how many species have both sexes?
I would have to say, yeah, as in how many are binary races. I would have to estimate, from what I've seen, probably 90% are binary. There are very few I've seen. I've run into one race that actually has 3 literal sexes and a number that have only 1. But the massive majority have 2.
All right, Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We still have a ton of questions for you from our great audience members listening in on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, and X. We appreciate you coming on in. R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection happens near the beginning of each month, and we'll be right back right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Keith, we're clear.
Okay, very active today.
Yep. Very active. Good
Not
times.
surprising you got 152 watching, according to what I'm seeing here on YouTube. And that's only on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah. No, things are definitely changing. There's no question there.
Mm-hmm. Very true, my man. Kira, you having fun?
Yeah, thanks. It's certainly
Good.
interesting, kind of seeing how everything works and like the formatting and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's intriguing.
It is kind of fun, isn't it?
Mhm.
Mm. Well, hopefully you guys will be able to make it down to Vegas with us.
That's at the beginning of May, right?
Yeah, 1st to 5th.
Yeah. Well, I'm still working on finances. I've still got the same problem I've always had, but we'll see what we can do.
Love it.
Yeah, it turns out that neat little fight that I was hoping was going to be dealt with is
Mhm.
As far as finances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're still working on that, but as you can well imagine, keep a roof over your head first.
Mm-hmm. We got about 3 minutes here, guys.
Yeah, not a problem. And the Mothman just said, he goes, Kira loves Vegas. You better take her, Keith.
It's a party animal there.
Oh yeah, just like Keith is.
Mm-hmm. Nothing but trouble when you get her out in public.
Always.
Yeah, Kurt says you're sitting with a wizard that K. You for being so patient and understanding what he's going through. And join him. That's so cool.
Hey, that's nice.
Yeah. Lavera says, that's Kira. She looks so tiny.
Yep.
She is tiny.
Yep.
Then she goes, is Keith huge?
That's funny.
Love it. All right, we just got over a minute here, guys.
Yeah.
No, I prefer to be pocket sized anyway.
Hard to believe it went by that fast.
Yeah.
Always does, bro.
Oh, I know.
Always does.
Yeah, I'm surprised we were having problems earlier because, I'm hardwired in. I shouldn't have any bearing, but.
Well, there's a setting I can maybe help you find, and we can at least double check it.
Yeah.
To make sure that the system isn't using Wi-Fi trying to use Wi-Fi at the same time. So we'll just check that.
For the record, just so everybody knows, Fap in our chat room,
Yeah.
he is the table study for new aliens wondering how anal probes work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Tonight, Search and Destroy, Major Lee ×2. Frankie, Maddie, and lovely Lavira. We're going to get going here in about 5 seconds.
I'm pretty sure that was a South Park reference.
Yep.
Here we go in the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We have until the top of the hour. R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. Continuing on here, Keith, you ready for more questions?
Absolutely.
All right, let's start off with Sierra here, who is asking, Keith, how do you go to Inner Earth?
Usually the quickest way is a dimensional door. Dimensional being, a door opens here, you step through it, you're there. If you will, you could call it an enhanced elevator. Just one that doesn't have a physical rooted location. Because I only go when I'm invited, in all fairness.
Mm-hmm. Are there many openings and portals in around Earth, or is there just certain locations?
There are certain physical locations. The bigger issue is the number of different species that can open a temporary portal to let people in, or to take people in, take your pick. But as far as a physical entrance, there's a couple I'm aware of, but I wouldn't recommend necessarily utilizing them. I mean, think of going for a swim in a pool full of piranhas. It's not usually an idea, and usually not a good idea. The access to the inner Earth is very heavily protected.
Do they invite people in, or do they just kidnap people to come in?
No, sometimes they invite. But I will tell you, more often than not, it's children that are invited. And the reason for that is because children are not looking to capitalize. They are looking to see, to experience. Human adults tend to go, what can I get out of Middle Earth? Not, can I see it? You know, if you will, it's the rainbow factor. Kids are looking for something that they can enjoy. And that's all they're looking for, something new, something exciting. They're not looking to kidnap, to capture something and bring it back to prove it's real. They just go, this is where I went. And they run with it. So it's more likely that you'll have a child picked up or that will stumble in and get dealt with than it is that a human will ever find their way there. Bear in mind, there are safety guards in place to ensure if you start down the road to get to them, you'll end up coming out the other side, won't even know that you transitioned.
Interesting thoughts. Interesting thoughts. Let's go to Peppa H. Do animals get abducted or just humans? And what's up with cattle mutilations?
Well, number one, yes, animals get taken. Okay, animals, plants, soil samples, water samples, you get the picture. As far as cattle mutilations go, you know, I would love to find out exactly what they're up to, but that again is another bout of experimentation. My understanding is a lot of the cattle mutilations are literally done by the Grand. Okay, your idea of a Gron, take a look at the Minotaur. Okay, the cattle were their ancient ancestors, so they're still trying to figure them out. But the Gron are from inner Earth. Now,
All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Paisley. Why don't the aliens help men from places like the Rendlesham Forest incident get better after they are harmed by radiation?
well, because mankind created a lot of the problem, and much more importantly, they don't understand the entirety of the human genome enough to do it yet. Man, the Rendlesham, I don't know enough about the Rendlesham situation to be able to give you a whole lot. But I do know that mankind dug themselves into an interesting situation with it. And my understanding is that they're trying to turn around and they're trying to let mankind evolve and figure these sorts of things out, because that radiation is not the worst they'll come across. This is kind of like trying to figure out how to deal with a hangnail before trying to deal with organ transplant. Humans have to learn some things themselves.
I see you there, Keith. I see you there. All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Derek. R Keith, out of all the planets in our solar system, which one has the most advanced species of intelligent life living on that planet, and what is the name of that species?
The most advanced is a dicey one, but I will tell you the Martokians who live on Mars are very advanced, as are the Venusians who live on Venus. I'm really not certain which one would be classified as the most advanced. If you're looking at communication, Vulcans literally have the highest advancement in communication methods. Most advanced, that'd be the Mobians. Okay. They literally have physical manifestation down to a fine art. And they happen to be on Mobius, which is on the other side of Earth, in an exact balanced orbit to Earth. It was literally put there to enable Earth to evolve.
Very weird. All right, let's move on here, Keith. Let's go to the next question. Unless you want to expand on that one a little bit more.
Well, the thing with the different races, we got to remember that human life is not the only viable life form, which is why many of the planets on Earth have other species, but their technology may not look like human technology. Okay, like for instance, Titan, which is one of the planets around Saturn, had some phenomenal technology on it, but built inside. And the so-called Planet X that is on its way back in, that is a ship unto itself. So I would have to say, if we go inside the solar system, they would certainly qualify. Debatably, they're probably one of the more advanced.
All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Blue Cruise. If the human beings on Earth's surface do not get their act together by a certain point in the future, will the inner Earth alien ET races come to the surface to take over?
Technically the answer would be yes, but that would mean that mankind has bombed itself back to the Stone Age and can no longer care for the planet. But if the question is more to the point, are the ancient races going to resurface and reclaim Earth? No, that is not part of the agreement. They will simply step up if man fails in its entirety. Sorry, you're stuck with cleaning up the mess on your own.
Keith, where are the bases here on planet Earth?
I'm not telling you.
Many people believe it's they have bases inside mountains. They have bases underneath the ocean. If you were looking for bases, where would you logically look?
I look in the government for one reason only, because I'm not about to tell you where they are. But there are some under the ocean, inside mountains, underneath cities that are underneath active cities on the planet today, and even in orbit. There's even a few that I know of that are just out of sync with visible viability that are floating in the air. Okay, but am I going to give you locations? Not a snowball's prayer. And of course, somebody out there is sitting there going, well, he's not going to say anything because he doesn't know. And I'm okay if you look at it that way. That works out well for me.
All right. Let us move on here. Let's go to Caged on the Inside. How does someone get in touch with you, R Keith Andrews?
That's the easy part. There's a couple of ways of doing it. Of course, I've got my own YouTube channel. But if you go to buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej, you can get a hold of me real easy through there. Track me down on YouTube at R Keith Andrews. And of course, at Inner Voice Enterprises at yahoo.ca. And that's my email address. Other than that, it's pretty much, I'm pretty certain Dave will put you in touch with me if you can't find me in the other directions.
You're on Facebook as well as R Keith Andrews.
This is correct.
Yes. Love it. Love it. We've got a lot of time left, Keith. Let's go with another question here. This one from Blue Cruise. I've heard some channelers state that humans are not allowed to communicate with certain high advanced alien ET races for one reason or another. Is there any truth to this?
Not allowed is a bit of a hiccup. Okay. It's more to the case that the higher intellect of many races, humans can't even begin to fathom. So it's not a question of you're not allowed to talk to them, but the odds of you comprehending them are not good. Okay, that's where the biggest problem is. Where the biggest problem is. But no, you're permitted to talk to them. But good luck understanding them.
Are the races wanting to talk to us? Are there races that refuse to talk to us?
Oh, there are many races that won't talk to humans because they look at them as slugs. There's no point in talking to them. They just don't have anything to work with. Okay. Now, there are races that are very happy to talk to people. Okay. The Proke, if they could get their act together, would love to talk to humans. And periodically, you'll find a half-breed Proke come to the surface. You would know a Proke as, and some people don't like this term, Proke are basically a 3 foot tall, very curious individual. Okay, and they will chatter your ear off if they can get a chance to. But they do find humans are kind of comical. Little tall, little gangly, but they're a lot of fun to be around. But some races just look at humans as, why would we bother paying attention to them?
I'm going to throw this one out of left field because I don't think I've ever asked you this question. There are many people within the scientific community who can't figure out the octopus, saying that it has no known origin of being here. It just is here. Okay. And they aren't sure. And they aren't sure if it's an alien or that it's been dropped off here or not. And this has been a debate before. I know you've heard it by your snicker and your laugh.
Yep. I can even tell you who brought it.
Okay, answer that question first. But Are there any other species of animals on this planet that have not evolved?
Well, we'll start with the octopus, as you know it, is a lower life form of the from the Udina's home planet. And I noticed the question go through here. If you ever watched The Visitor, if you ever watched the movie Arrival, okay, with the big helipods, and they write with the ink in the water.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just write with ink in the water. Okay. And it's not just a two-dimensional image. It's actually a three-dimensional globe. But that is their language. But the Udina, the octopi, originated on the Udina's home planet. Okay. They ended up coming here basically, and the other one that is also not from around here, as the saying goes, is the chupacabra. The chupacabra is a cute little pet, if you will, a dog that the Moldocs ended up bringing. And yeah, the Moldocs have been around since before mankind got here. To clarify that, if you ever watched the show Predator, you remember what the Predator looks like.
Yeah.
Well, the Moldoc, it has a split bottom jaw, but the top jaw doesn't actually open. Okay. Basically, whoever, and I forget who actually wrote that story, they actually got the basic critter, the basic entity that is the Predator, is based on a real one.
There's also some talk that, during the Predator movie, where he is kind of like what they call today a glimmer man.
Yeah.
There is talk that is also how Bigfoot camouflages itself.
In a manner of speaking, the difference being the Moldoc uses technology to do that. The Sasquatch uses biomolecular modification. They literally vibrate their fur to vanish.
No idea that they did that.
This is why they seem to just vanish when you're looking at them. There are actually a number of species that can pull that kind of maneuver.
Okay. Let's move on here, Keith. Let's go to Peppa H. What race has the egg-shaped UFOs?
That would be the Udina. They're a hedopod. Hedopod meaning they have 7 limbs. Most of them. Pardon?
How do they fit in there?
Well, by not being that tall. I mean, if you take a look at an octopus, they can get into a really small container. So can the Udina. Okay, because all of their ships are not the same size, but the little eggs that you see, those are scout ships. Those aren't the big ones. Those aren't the big interstellar ones. So those are the ones that they come down to do planetary sampling with.
All right. See if we got any more for you. Let's go over to Lavira, who is asking, do animals feel less fear during abductions than humans?
Oh, no. I mean, that depends on the animal, but no, fear is fear. When you get cast into an unknown situation, fear does tend to come to the surface. It's the same entity, if you will, or the same emotion that humans deal with. The second you're put in unfamiliar territory, you go into this definitive state. And it's done, and they deal with it like the off-worlders deal with that fear in the same fashion. By the way, plants have the same problem. Plants that are, as they put it, abducted have some pretty severe reactions. But again, they're just another entity. And you can actually communicate with them.
Okay. Let's go over to Lenda here. Sticking with animals, what is the alien's favorite animal to abduct?
Now, that depends entirely on the individual. I know, like, a Muldock wouldn't touch a sheep as far as an abduction goes. Because from their standpoint, they're great for eating, but that's pretty much it. Muldock will go after something a whole lot more aggressive. You know, especially if they're looking for a pet. But if they're just looking for research, it depends on what they're researching. Okay, and that applies across the board.
I would think that they would want to maybe abduct animals that are either more strange looking, like, say, rhinoceroses or hippopotamuses or elephants or what have you. But mostly, I would think that they might want to abduct prototypical house pets, dogs and cats, because then they can get a read up of what the humans are like.
And in some cases, that is literally how they decide it. But we're talking about a choice in abduction from, and like when you deal with the consortium, you're looking at 2,500 races and countless planets. So the variety of what people are looking for, you know, it really boils down to, are they looking for additions to the zoo? If you're looking for additions to a zoo, then something like the platypus, which is abnormal on Earth, would qualify as a good abduction. Okay, but you would be amazed at the number of interstellar zoos that are looking for Homo sapien as an attraction.
Wouldn't it be about is it about studying all life forms or just the human life form then?
That depends entirely on the individual scientist. Where it comes to the Zeta Reticulans, they are studying the entirety of the planet. Okay, meaning all life and all mineral, all life and all non-life. Okay, when the Tekla first got here, which are your 3.5 to 4.5 foot reptilian, raptor-like reptilian, they originally headed for Earth because they were going to strip the whole thing to the core. And they were going to take everything. That's one of the wars that's going on, is between them and the Strazazians, which are a 7.5 to 8.5 foot reptilian that is actually here. They got here to protect Earth from the Tekla before the consortium got here.
Well, Keith, it's that time for us to wrap things up. We got about 30 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find your information.
Easiest way to find me is you can find me on YouTube at R Keith Andrews, or go to buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej, and you'll find all of it there, as well as you'll find me on Facebook.
You're always a lot of fun, Keith. Thank you again, my friend. It is great having you back on Spaced Out Radio. We will talk to you next month. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller, then Extra Small. Lee Strauss will be here on Spaced Out Radio, mustache and all. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Great job, Keith. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I
You're
agree.
more than
Al
welcome.
Gray. I agree, Al Gray. R Keith. Oh, excuse me. R Keith is a national treasure. We love you, Keithy.
Thanks so much.
Okay, we'll talk to you next month, buddy. Bye,
You too.
Kira.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Have a good one.
All right. I'm going to take a quick break. Then we're going to say Swamp Dweller, say hi to Swamp Dweller. Then Extra Small is going to be in here. Be right back. All right. Let's bring in Extra Small. There he is. Extra Small.
Hey,
What's happening?
well, I'm not wearing ugly swag, Dave.
Yeah, me either, buddy. That's very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
No, yeah.
Good for you. Good
Well,
for you, buddy.
You gotta represent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good show earlier, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. That was a good one.
Oh, look at Algaray on Twitch. Is it just me, or is Lee looking extra small tonight? Algaray, you better make it to Vegas, man. You better make it to Vegas. Mm-hmm.
I'll give him a little something.
All right. We got 30 seconds. Swamp Dweller is about 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes. And thank you tonight to Major Lee ×2, Search and Destroy, Lovely Lavira, Frankie, and _ Maddie for hanging out with us. Super Chat is a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, the hair feels good. You know, it does. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ecdesiast. Ecdesiast is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. It's that time of the night where we head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Hey Swamp Dweller, my family has had an insane number of experiences with the supernatural. We are a family of women with psychic abilities and men that have had just some crazy, unexplainable occurrences. Today, I wanted to share a story with you and your followers. Something that did not happen to me, but to my uncle. He doesn't use the internet a whole lot and didn't even know how to get his story out there. So, I'm submitting it on his behalf. Without further ado, this story takes place in Canada, specifically the outskirts of Thunder Bay, in the year of 2003. My uncle has always been what most would call a drifter. He was seldom in one spot for too long and would get around by hitchhiking. Christmas of 2002 leading into January 2003, my uncle had traveled from Regina to Ontario to spend the holidays with our family. We were all located in Ontario at the time. As the holiday seasons had passed, he made his way back to Regina in his most common fashion, hitchhiking. He had an uneventful trip until he made it to Thunder Bay. He was dropped off by a transport trucker on a desolate highway outside of Thunder Bay, as that was as far as the trucker could take him. He had wandered further and further down the highway with rarely any passing vehicles, none willing to stop and give him a ride. It was between 2 and 3 a.m. at this point, and he was absolutely freezing, and started to slow his pace and take many breaks along his walk. He ended up standing in one spot for some time in an attempt to warm himself and conserve energy. It was under a street light, and his spot was well lit. Suddenly, he began to hear what sounded like branches snapping behind him in the tree line, about a half a football field length away. He chalked it up to a deer or a moose, as the deep Canadian forest is full of wildlife that are quite active at night. He then heard what sounded like a groaning sound, muffled and almost sounding like a human, but not quite. He decided to continue walking and would speed his pace up in between streetlights because he just had this eerie feeling something was off. And he felt this pit in his stomach, like something was eating away at him. He could hear whatever it was in the tree line following him as he moved. It seemed to mimic him almost. but it seemed to remain in the tree line. Branches cracked, and in between cracks he could hear grunts and groans. Then it hit him. The grotesque smell of raw meat that had been baking in the sun mixed with what smelled like garbage. He could see a moving figure that appeared to be white in color with patchy fur. He had never been so afraid in his life, with no way to call for help and the isolating feeling brought on by the realization that not a single vehicle had passed in hours. He felt helpless and feared for his life, quite frankly. He tried to keep moving. Faster and faster, the creature kept this pace, yet still remained in the tree line, just out of sight, almost as if it was playing with him. He stopped as he approached the final streetlight on this stretch of highway, and felt the most fear he has ever felt in his life. The streetlight's dim light was the only sense of safety he was able to grasp, and now it was gone. He turned to face the tree line and noticed that he couldn't see or hear anything, and he had thought the creature had given up on him. He almost sighed a breath of relief, and he heard a branch snap once more, almost directly in front of him. What came next has stuck with him, a shriek so loud and shrill that it made his entire body freeze up, rendering him in a state of shock paralysis. Thankfully, headlights approached and came to a halt beside him. He hadn't even the capacity to turn and try to catch a ride. He was still paralyzed with fear. It was a lovely man in a large black Jeep. The gentleman screamed at my uncle to get in the vehicle, and he did not protest and jumped right in. Naturally, not his first instinct, as he prefers to get a feel for the person stopping to pick him up. But the man had a tone of urgency and fear, and my uncle did not want to be a meal for whatever that creature was. As soon as my uncle jumped into the Jeep, the man sped off and then parked about 20 minutes up the road and explained to my uncle what he had saw when he was approaching him on the highway. My uncle was so grateful that the man had seen what he did. Based upon the description, my uncle's in-depth research of cryptids following in this experience, we all believe what my uncle saw was probably a Wendigo or something of that nature.
See, that's just scary when you're being stalked. It really is. We say thank you to Swamp Dweller for playing that story for us tonight. If you want more Swamp Dweller, just like that, just head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. There are thousands of stories for you just like that. Time for the Cryptid Report.
Oh, hello, Jackie.
All right, Major Lee. Actually, extra small Lee. Lee Strout. Major Lee is in our chat room. I always get you guys confused. Hanging on, filling in for Jackie Harmon tonight. Lee, it's good to have you here.
It's good to be here, Dave. I'm happy to be here, filling in.
Oh, man, it's good to have you here. I'm getting ripped in our chat room tonight about my hairdo. Like, all the gel is gone from my hair, so all of a sudden it's getting poofy. And everybody who can see me on YouTube is like just all over me. I'm taking shots left, right, and center, man.
I'm seeing that. I'm actually kind of liking it because it's not aimed at me tonight. So
we'll change the two.
We'll take what we can get.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. I'm like, just not used to that.
No.
Let's talk about stalking. Now, I don't know if you have ever been stalked before by an animal, by a cryptid, or anything else. But let me tell you, man, I have twice now, and it was just the most uncomfortable feeling ever. Tell us your stalking story.
Yeah, well, you've had two experiences. I probably had two experiences, Dave. Both of them happened here in Washington State, out of Skykomish, Washington, not far from the Foss River. Actually, it was headed up to the Necklace Lakes Valley on both occasions. Actually, it's one of my favorite places to go, Dave, and I've had experiences there before, but it's always off to one side of the trail. And it's always in one part of the trail where I will hear off in the distance, when it steps, I step, or when I step, it steps. and it's just off the trail where I cannot see. And in the wintertime when I go up there, you can see all the way out there. But in the spring and summer, you can't see within 10 feet, because the brush grows up so thick and green. And you can hear it crunching along, walking as you're walking, and it keeps pace with you. These sorts of things happen more times than not. And you know what? It happens so often, I think people don't even report it. It's just something they can't see. They can hear it. It steps when they step. It stops when they stop, and it's just the way it is. I don't know why that happens, but it does.
So what happened in your scenario? Take us from start to finish.
Okay, so I'm on a level old railroad grade area of the trail, and before it starts going vertical. And it's about a mile long right there in that section, usually where it starts and stops. And off to the right-hand side, we've got a river, and you'll hear that. But as you're walking along, all of a sudden, you'll hear this crunching, snapping, cracking, footsteps, heavy footfall off to the left-hand side. And I don't know what it is about this section of trail, Dave, but for about a mile, you'll just hear it over there walking along with you. And when you stop, like I said, it will stop. There's huge cliffs on that side of the mountain too. You can look up and it's just sheer cliffs right there. But there's a good, I don't know, maybe 400, 500 feet of space before the cliffs start right there. And that's where the activity seems to hang out as you're going through. And I think that this happens, obviously it happens to more than just me in this area, but people will hear this. I made a report to BFRO about it happening because, it had happened twice in that location. So I figured, well, shoot, I need to make a report so that other people are aware of this activity here in this area. I'm sure now if I go back and look that there's going to be other reports there as well. So stalking, I think it's more of just interest in who we are and what we are, and what we're doing and what we got going on more than actual stalking. I never felt fear, Dave. It was always just like, okay, something's out there, and I usually pack a gun or a pointy stick with me. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I carry a pointy stick with me. So, just to be wary and be cautious.
For me, the two times that it's happened, here's the interesting part. Both times have happened with Merle, and both times have happened with our armed guard Mark in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those were 6 years apart, but I can tell you this, man. When you are being pushed out of the forest, when you are having something that you can't see kind of shoving you out of the way, it is very, very weird, man. It is very weird, and it is uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It is a scenario that you have to be aware of. And, a lot of people who may not have outdoors experience, we get a lot of armchair critics in this field. They'll say, oh, it was a bear or a deer or a moose or, maybe a wolf or a mountain lion. That's the first thing you are looking for in the forest. That is why you carry your pointy sticks in case one of these dumb predators, and I mean that with all due respect to the animal field, in case they come back and start, going after this channel for me calling animals dumb. But you go through that list.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had in 2023, when what we believe was a Sasquatch growling at us. Our first thought wasn't Sasquatch. Our first initial reaction was, we have a bear at base camp that has growled at us. Crap, we better get back there. We've got $30,000 worth of camera equipment there. We've got all of our food there, all of our supplies there, our vehicle there. We need to check this out. We need to be able to see and hope that all our stuff isn't getting trounced by a black bear or a grizzly bear. I mean, that's what we were thinking.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, the only thing I wanted to add, when we got back to base camp, there was no footprints. None of our food was touched. None of our gear was touched. There was nothing. It was exactly how we left it. Now, bears are notoriously curious. There would have been a bear there. We weren't making noise because we were trying to capture evidence. We weren't making noise.
Right.
And that is what you look for. It's
Mhm.
all a process of elimination when you're out there. And the one thing that I have learned about my time in the forest that I've learned is, if you were around, animals will usually do a couple of things. Number one, they will be as still as anything, waiting for you to pass because they don't want to give up their camouflage, because they look at humans the same way they look at a bear or a mountain lion. Or they will, the minute you start talking or making noise or movement, they will get spooked and they will take off.
Yeah.
Some animals will take off for about 40, 50 yards, then turn and look. Others will take off, like if you take a white-tailed deer, it'll take off until it knows it's safe. Now, curious animals like bears and cougars, they will maybe leave, or they'll start saying, well, if you're stalking me, I'm going to stalk you. And they will make noise. Well, the cougar likely won't, but a bear is not a quiet animal.
That's right.
So when you add it all together and you're hearing noises that are not from a process of elimination, it's not a wolf, it's not a coyote, it's not a bear, it's not a cat of any species. And we've got a bunch of cat species up here. It comes down to, well, what are you dealing with?
Well, it's the repetitive nature of what we've experienced, Dave. You've experienced the same sort of stuff in the same location, and so have I. A predator necessarily isn't going to be doing that. Not like a cat or anything. It's going to take its prey and it's going to move on. It's not going to hang out, and do the same sort of thing, one week and then 4 months later do the same sort of thing. This is more of an animal that is intentionally trying to learn or gain some knowledge, or is interested in what is going on the trail. It seems to me that a cat would take its prey and then move to another location. So a repetitive situation like that, I don't think it's a predator.
I don't think so either.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that, like, when you're being stalked, having these creatures, they're mimicking you.
Yes.
When you're walking, they're walking. When you stop, they stop. Animals don't do that.
Well, cat may do that if it's trying to, but it's not going to do it repeatedly, and a couple months later do it again. This is different.
I agree with you on that, but a cat rarely makes noise in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
When you are hearing twigs being snapped, branches moving, like if you're in an area of fir trees where if you're tall enough to reach them and you rub up against them, cats don't do that.
Yeah. They don't. You're right. So
Bears
we're dealing.
keep going.
Exactly. We're dealing with a very intelligent animal that is actively watching what we are doing. Now, there was another time where I felt like I was being chased out, but it wasn't by something I could hear or see. It was more of a feeling that I got. So that was much different than what I felt up by Skycomish. And that was terrifying.
Why was it terrifying for you?
It was all mental. It was all in my head. I don't have, and all of that affected the rest of me. Whatever was going on there in my mind, or whatever was being projected at me from another source, was enough to scare me to the point that I knew that I had to get out of there immediately. And like I said, Dave, it wasn't something that I could attribute to any one thing. There wasn't a source for it. You know what I mean? There wasn't noise. There wasn't any of that. It felt like I had eyes on me, watching me. And it felt like I needed to get the heck out of there, and I needed to get out of there right now.
Mm-hmm. That is not a good feeling.
No.
That is not a good feeling at all. You mentioned earlier that, you've never really been scared by the stalking situation. Is it because you were far enough in a distance where you had some sort of human control to escape just in case?
There was only two ways to go, up the hill or back down. I just didn't feel threatened by it. It didn't feel threatening in any way. And I know I know that you know what I mean. When you feel like there's danger, your body's going to tell you about it. It's not just something that appears out of nowhere. There's a start to it, right? If your body starts to feel threatened, there's a whole host of things that happen. And in this situation up by Skycomish, it wasn't in any way threatening. It was walking along with me. I was not worried about it. I recognized that it was there. It was interesting, but it was not threatening in any way.
Did you talk to it?
No, I didn't talk to it. I just kind of, acknowledged it. Just, stop, listen, walk, stop, listen. But it wasn't like I talked out loud to it at all.
See, with us,
No.
Not the first time, but the second time, we were actually talking to him. Now they didn't respond. They didn't respond, but we were trying to use our voices, just like, hey guys, we know you're there. We recognize you're there. Please know that we're not here for any harm or any foul. We're not trying to cause you guys any issues. And we'd just appreciate some safety. We're going to continue the conversation. Stalked by Sasquatch.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear, dude.
Sweet. Oh, I was supposed to head out. In fact, I was supposed to head out this weekend and get with Toby Johnson in the Olympics, but we got snow, man.
Oh, heaven forbid.
Yeah, that's not saying a lot for you up there and way up there in Caribou.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
We don't drive well in it here in Washington State, apparently. I told him I was game. I was like, man, let's go. Snow or not, I've got the gear, but he wasn't ready.
It's too bad.
Yeah, it's okay though. We'll shift to next weekend.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be awesome.
It will be. The Olympic Peninsula is something else. I'm sure you've heard plenty of stories.
Mm-hmm. I did. Is he part of the Olympic project?
He is not, but we've got many mutual friends within the Olympic project. So, yep. It's a good time. There's a thing that he's got coming up where a bunch of people are going to be speaking, and it's going to be an outdoor event actually on location in, I think it's September, this coming September.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have our MUFON director here in Washington State there, and just a bunch of people, and that'll be a good time. Yeah, getting out and doing things, on the trail with some good speakers will be nice.
What's funny is I'm not going to name names on the Olympic project because I don't think it's fair.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam. But I had a couple of guys on there and from there, and they were 3/4 woo, 1/4 not woo. And all of a sudden they did this television documentary, and they called me up to see if they could come on the show.
Yeah.
And I put them on the show because I liked the guys.
Oh, yeah.
And they were totally anti-woo, totally, acting like all the woo people are just a bunch of idiots. And I'm sitting here thinking, you were lying out of your sack here compared to what you said the last time. So I started out on it a little bit, right? And well, our thoughts changed. No, they didn't. You're doing it because you got a television show or a documentary and all that kind of crap, and it was like ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, everybody's, welcome to their own thoughts on things, and that's fine. I mean, that's especially hearing from people that have different opinions. I mean, we learn so much, right? Does it work in our wheelhouse, what you're saying? I mean, everybody takes that in and then, figures out if it works for them.
Oh, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But knowing that, dude, it was only like 6, 7, 8 months between their appearances, Like if it was like 6 years and they said, hey, my opinion changed, not a problem. Okay. It happens.
Yeah.
Right. But
my opinion has changed.
You've gone totally the opposite way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was just weird. 1 second here, Lee. Thank you to Adam, Lovely Levira, Major Lee ×2, Frankie, Maddie, and Search and Destroy for the great super chats. Always appreciate your love and support. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why, Lee?
Why? Because we don't have ugly swag. Heck no.
No, we do not. No, we do not. All right. We got like 20 seconds. Somewhere around there. It's all good.
Yep.
All good. And a few more seconds. Like 5 seconds. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate turning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Lee Strauss filling in for Jackie Harmon on the Cryptid Report. What is it like to be stalked by the unknown? Lee's had it happen. I've had it happen. It's not a comfortable feeling. And once again, I want to reiterate, when things like this happen in the forest, your first reaction is not Bigfoot's out there. Dogman's out there. And I think, Lee, we see a lot of these people out there investigating these great cryptid creatures, these creatures of folklore and legend and nightmares. And it always seems like their first initial reaction is, oh, there's a dogman around. There's a Sasquatch around. It's not like that, is it?
No, it's definitely not like that. It's more or less your first thought, okay, is it a cat? Is it a bear? Is it a human? I mean, those are the three things that come up in my head, first of all. And, your gut's going to tell you a lot. Your head's going to tell you a lot. You just need to be open and listen to your inner self when you're out there. If it's telling you that you need to leave, you need to leave. You don't want to hang around if your gut's telling you you need to get the heck out of there, right? You can always get out and then come back in and, be prepared for something, carry a pointy stick or whatever it is, or bring a friend or two with you to go in. But pay attention. Definitely pay attention to your inner voice when you're out there, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I totally agree with you. And the other thing too is when it comes to this, my man, is the treasure trove of stomach turning you go through, from feeling a little ill to feeling a little tensed, anxious, absolutely everything, because you're waiting, for this monster, whether it's a bear or a mountain lion or whatever it may be, to come through the trees and just, come at you. And it doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen. At least it hasn't happened for me, thank God. But Dave, I used to hike a lot by myself in the Cascades here in Washington State, ever since I was old enough to drive, to probably till the time I was 40. And then I started taking people with me because I didn't feel safe by myself anymore. There's a lot of things that happen out there that you're like, well, something could have happened and I might not have been coming home. I got lost one time, and that was pretty darn scary. I did find my way out, but it sobered me up a lot, and like I said, with the thing in the brush walking alongside me, yes, it was there and I didn't feel threatened, but it still was a little uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So I would say, yes, it's always better if you have somebody else with you. Don't go alone. There's a lot of cases here also where people just end up missing. They do. And who knows what's happened to them, actually. So it's better just to make sure that you have somebody to go with you, or you have a cell signal or something, a spot, so that at least your loved ones know where you are.
How did you get lost?
Oh boy, that was a tough one. So what happened was I was hiking up to, I'm trying to remember the name of the lake, which I probably won't remember right off the top of my head, but we'll just pass that by. I was hiking along this long trail. I think I was going by Pete's Lake or something like that off of I-90. And then I was headed up and the bridge was washed out where I had to cross and it was kind of deep during that time of year. It was still late spring, but the water was still flowing pretty deep. So I decided to hike up along the river, and I figured, well, I'll find another place to cross. So I eventually did find another place to cross where a log had fallen across the river. So I went across and I started hiking down, and I was like, gosh, I should be, getting to the trail sooner or later. And it just kept going, and I wasn't finding the trail. And that really bothered me. It scared me a great deal. Like, holy crap, I'm not finding the trail. And I was bushwhacking through, figuring that I would come across it eventually. And I wasn't. And, come to find out, I was paralleling the trail and I didn't even realize it because of how thick the brush was. I couldn't see, 20 feet over, and noticed that I was walking alongside the trail. I had no idea. But I finally broke through and there was the trail. And it just, for about 45 minutes of terror, realizing that I might get myself lost, that was pretty harsh.
I took my family. They were up here for Canadian Thanksgiving a number of years ago, and I took them to my original gifting site because my father-in-law wanted to see the footprints and what we do out here.
Mm-hmm.
And so went up the logging road, parked in the exact same spot I always park at. We walk in, get to the gifting site. Nothing's out of the ordinary. And then from about the gifting site to where we found a 15-inch print, that was probably 45 feet. Okay, it's 50 feet away. Maybe a little bit longer, not very much further. But anyways, we were there for about 20, 25 minutes. And everybody's just kind of looking around. I said, well, let's continue on our trek. Let's just get going here. And I started walking through, and all of a sudden, everything around me, and I'm the leader of this because this is my spot, and all of a sudden, everything looked the same. Now, I had been to this place maybe 50 to 100 times, and everything looked the same. It was like everywhere I turned, okay, that's the exit over there. No, the exit's over there. Well, where's the road? Right? And now, we're only about 200, 250 feet off the road, if that.
Yeah.
Not far. And all of a sudden, that level of anxiety starts picking up. Like, you start to panic because you don't know. And now, all of a sudden, I'm trying to calm myself down. Okay, think here. Relax and think. Stop the panic. And the next thing you know, I hear a logging truck, like a guy driving up the logging road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I was able to finally put two and two together. And I was off by about 20 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. It happens so quick too. All it takes is one little thing, and then you're SOL. I mean, the ramifications of that can be deadly. So it happens to the best of us. I've been in search and rescue, and still it happened to me. So
many people believe, Lee, that the forest having a life of its own actually has, that's part of its lure, its mystique, is it has these powers to all of a sudden change its look to screw people up.
yeah, I suppose it's like anything else. You think of a Venus flytrap, right? Catching flies. And basically, I mean, if you're a dead body, you're just basically food for the environment. So it might in some way try to snare you. Definitely could.
I don't know, man. That's just a freaky thought. Like Mother Nature looking for payback by changing her look.
Well, I don't know. Looking for payback is the answer, but it's just looking for substance, and you figure any deer or human being for that matter could be food for the forest, and I think that could happen very, very easily. And you might even think, well, is this something that fairies or goblins or whatever it is that may be in the forest, if that's something that's tricking you or switching things around in your mind a little bit to lure you in, that sort of stuff is possible too. There's plenty of those tales out there. So
I've never heard you talk such woo before.
Well, Lars Jansson helped me with that. He's a fellow Swede, and I think you know him pretty well. So
Yeah, he's number 42 tonight, starting.
Yep. So yeah, that's it's part of Swedish folklore too, that sort of thing. So it's pretty interesting if you start looking into it. But yeah, the forest calling you in and then getting lost, and yeah.
But getting back to the stalking issue.
Uh-huh.
When you were being stalked at that moment, and you said you'd felt a level of not fear, but a little bit of, I'm going to use the word anxiety on that.
Okay.
What's happening? How come you didn't fear for your safety even though you were going through that?
I just felt comfortable. I knew where I was going because I had been there many times before. So it was like, well, you just follow the trail. I know this is going on over here. But deep down inside, it wasn't a threatening feeling. It's like, okay, it's happening. Big deal. Whatever it is over there doing its thing. I'm on the trail doing my thing. As long as it's not coming at me and it's just paralleling me, 20 feet away or whatever it is, it just did not feel. You've got a sixth sense, and I just didn't feel in any way threatened. Yes, it was concerning, but it wasn't to the point where I needed to run from it in any way. I just, I was calm about it, and I felt secure. Somebody else would be along the trail as well, maybe, I don't know.
What changed for you though, man? What changed from the fact that you used to go hiking by yourself into the mountains of the Cascades in Washington State to where now you are feeling that it's just safer not to go alone?
Well, there's plenty of stories. I think maybe David Politis scared the crap out of me. I started looking into a lot of the 411 stuff, and that did part of it. And there was a couple trips that I went out where I had things come into camp, a deer one night, that kind of freaked me out. And just having unruly people as well on the trail, people that I wasn't sure about, that I didn't feel comfortable around. There was one time where I actually left the place where I set up my tent because there was another guy in a tent over the ridge from me, not too far, and he did not make me feel comfortable. I was not comfortable around that guy at all. And I left, probably at 9 o'clock, packed up all my stuff and headed back down the hill. I just didn't feel right with it. So that's what I'm saying is sensing things and listening to your inner voice.
And you know what? I don't think many people understand, like, because of a lot of our listeners, they're sitting at home.
Hmm.
You know, they're at home. Maybe they haven't gone into a forest. I'm not saying a park around your house that has trees, but I'm saying a literal forest, like a jungle.
Yeah.
That's a different name for a forest. It's a jungle.
Right.
And I don't think they understand how, and I'm not trying to put people down, but many won't understand that your senses heighten when you
Mhm.
are in the forest. And it's different because I remember when I worked in downtown Vancouver in sports radio, you know, you just get that feeling, you know, that you got to move out of the way because there's going to be a fight here, or there's going to be something dangerous that happened, or you know, let's say you're out at a bar with your buddies, and all of a sudden you can kind of feel that tension building, where, you know, let's go off over to the side over here because it just feels like a brawl is about to happen or something along those lines, right? You can
Yeah.
feel that tension. Whereas in the forest, it's kind of the same feeling, but
Mhm.
you're more heightened, you're more aware, because you realize when you're in the forest, there's a lot bigger players in the game there, and they play for real. You and I could get into a fisticuffs. You can take a beer stein and shatter it over my head. Yeah, that's going to hurt.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
Mm.
But something in the forest comes at you, it's likely going to try and rip you apart piece by,
Exactly.
and it's going to start with your neck
Mhm.
and then make its way down to certain parts of your body and start feasting on you while you're still alive and now paralyzed.
That's correct.
That's not fun.
Oh no, I can't imagine. So yeah, I mean, yes, I think our senses are heightened once we get out there. It's like we go on guard. We are listening to everything. We're taking in as much information as we can when we're out there. Um, you know, parts of us might awaken out there, Dave, where those things may not awaken when we're at home or if we're at a bar or, you know, in the city. I think more of us wakes up out there than here, and some of that may be other senses that are subdued, that we've subdued over time. But you know, the more time I spend out there, the calmer I get. Even though things can happen out there, I go out there to relax, get away from work. It's a different feeling out there. It's calming, it's soothing, it's all that. Even though the danger is there, it does something to the body and to the mind.
Oh, fully agree. Fully agree. Totally bringing you back to nature. We got 3.5 minutes to go here.
Yeah.
Well, in times where you have ever been stalked by
Mhm.
something of the unknown, in the 2 times that it's happened, did you ever feel the fact that maybe you just wanted to stop or go after it, stalk it back?
I've never felt that way. You know, I haven't. Not until most recently, Dave, where we've had some incidences where I've actually started looking, you know, actively for Sasquatch instead of just being a bystander from its activities. It's now I would be more cautious and go towards it. I think a little, you know, like I did when it was at the end of the road and we got the thermal hit with it down there. We were walking towards it, right? Before it faded away. We were actively going towards it, small steps, but we were going. So, yes, in that case, last June, I went towards it.
I think it would, in my 2 spots, the one spot, I would totally move up on it. totally move up. When we had our sighting in 2022 of the 10-footer, we were slowly making our way. Now, when I say slowly making our way, I'm talking literally like toddler baby steps. That's how fast it's moving.
Exactly. Because it's not a comfortable feeling. The thing is monstrous, and so you're trying to be kind and gentle, thinking through this. Okay, is this okay? And it's going to let you know when it's not okay. So, that's the cues you're looking for constantly while you're doing something like that.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. So, but my other spot, because it's a little bit more thicker, there's not a lot of room for movement. I don't think I would go there, just not because of the dangers of the creature, but more so there's a lot of hidden underbrush that could really, break an ankle or twist an ankle or something along those lines, and that would be painful.
Yeah, surprise has a lot to do with it. And if you're in a thick area like that, you're going to be you're going to be a lot more wary. Whereas a spot like where we were when we could see it at the end of the road and we're just walking down the road, that's a different deal. If it's in the brush and kind of hiding and rustling in the brush, I mean, I don't think I would go after something like that. Definitely not.
No, you don't want that. You don't want to do that to yourself.
No.
Don't. It doesn't feel good. It's just not right. Hard to believe we're almost done here, my man.
Yeah.
That was quick. A quick final hour on Spaced Out Radio as we come down to the last 20 seconds. Lee Strauss hosts Element 115 on our YouTube channel, and he's always a great guest with us here. Very knowledgeable, very astute, very smart, and very level-headed. So much different than I am. I give him credit for that.
Not at all.
Well, barely. Welcome to Ron Bumblefoot Ball. Rocking in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elcam, Facebook, Stream, LinkedIn, Space Travel Club, and on X, #SpaceOutRadio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Space Out Radio, SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for cheering with us.
Stay in
Us
line,
together,
don't
my
make a
friends.
mistake. We're watching.
The Elephant Knights. Mr. Bumblefoot. Lead up, baby. Yes, the Wu Train has docked for the night. Soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. All right, we are clear.
so I don't remember who it was. Wait, Boss Monster, troll doll haircut.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome right there. I don't care who you are. That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. It doesn't look that bad. His haircut looks pretty good, actually. Look at his hair compared to mine. Come on. I got very little left, so.
I'll lend you some.
I could use it. Plugs. We'll get it all plugged in. We can do that in Vegas.
Dude, I'm telling you right now. I'm going for a pedicure and a leg massage in Vegas.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you in?
Oh, of course I'm in. Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. It'll be good. It'll be good.
It will be. Being a good co-host. Dave's a good guy. I've been watching Dave for years. He's awesome.
Who, me?
Yeah. I was making a comment to somebody here on the chat. Yeah.
Almost done.
Oh, it's all good.
Publish that bad boy.
Yes.
That's what we do here.
That's
how
right.
we roll.
That's
how we roll.
I still got to get my plane ticket, but I got the hotel reserved.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bought my plane tickets this past week. Well, sorry. Mouth is starting not to work.
Oh, there's Deb from SAC.
Deboruni.
What? Okay, I need help here. What is SAC?
Sacramento.
Oh, Sacramento. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I got that right off the bat.
You knew it.
Sweet Robbie G rubbing it in. I'll be in Vegas in 2 weeks.
Ah.
Yeah, that's sweets. You know?
Yeah. So he's going twice then this year.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky you. Lucky you.
Mm-hmm.
Jealous I am.
Sweet Robbie G this weekend has Rex Bear on Saturday night and Zason Saldowski on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pair of great shows with the sweets. You know? More interesting than going to the local bingo hall to pick up ladies' fap.
We don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. My football prediction, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think we're going to see a combined total of over 47.5 points.
That is high.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a good game. Good game.
Most definitely. So I got a new piece. I don't know if you saw what I have, Dave.
I don't saw anything.
360 trail camera. Sees in all directions at one time.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
That's a nice bingo. Mm-hmm. On that note, I'm going to bed.
All right. If you're going to bed, I'm going to bed. And I'll meet you there.
In the astral, buddy.
Very good, sir. Very good, sir. Good night, everybody.
Thank you to Lee ×2, Lavira, Deborah Rooney, Linda, Adam, _Maddie, Frankie, and Search and Destroy. I will see you guys on Monday. My guest will be Sabrina Scott. We'll be talking tarot and witchcraft. It's going to be fun. Fun, I tell you. We'll see you all on Monday. Lee, I'll give you a call this weekend.
All right, sir.
Later, everybody.
Later.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.